through the beginning, where in the glory they come, out of the darkness is sheltered, out of blackness comes the bomb. Negro and Indian screaming, onto the road where they fall. Is this the only way races will join today? Join in barbarous death, gun, raj, and Monroe. All end in agony. When will our hatreds end? And race with race work together as friends. Anywhere hatred is sown, violence will grow and be spread. First Alice crushed in the roadway, and Gardner cut down and dead. Now meaningless death all around us, from Buxton to Wismar men die. So many lives we see wasted in tragedy. See how our hatred destroys Guyana. Our land in agony. When will our hatreds end? And race with race work together as friends. God knows that there must be struggle, if even one man isn't free, where only the rich can find justice, and poor men live in misery. But murder by night isn't justice, and burning sets no poor man free. Justice can never be built on brutality. Violence corrupts and destroys Guyana. Our land in agony. How can our hatreds end? And race with race work together as friends. First we must learn to see brothers, each by himself face to face. Not to call men by their color, not to judge men by their race, not beating and burning the good men for evil that other men do. Then can we start to be building our destiny, building our justice with love in our Guyana. Our own land strong and free, when fears and hatreds end, and race with race work together as friends.
One day me been a bamboo down, and me see Tyra lay down there, and me ask see Tyra what she do there. See Tyra ice up she belly good wine like a boxing good. See Tyra move and day, oh see Tyra move and day. See Tyra move and day, oh see Tyra move and day. One day me been a wakana, and me see Tyra Bondi down, and me ask see Tyra what she do then. See Tyra ice up she penny coat wine like a boxing board. See Tyra move and day, oh see Tyra move and day. See
In public road the beginning, where in the lorry they come, out of the darkness is pelted, out of blackness comes the bomb. Negro and Indian screaming, onto the road where they fall. Is this the only way races will join today? Join in barbarous death, gun, raj and Monroe. Oh, land in agony, when will our hatreds end, and race with race work together as friends? Anywhere hatred is sown, violence will grow and be spread. First Alice crushed in the roadway, and Gardner cut down and dead. Now meaningless death all around us, from Buxton to Wisma men die. So many lives we see wasted in tragedy. See how our hatred destroys Guyana. Our land in agony, when will our hatreds end, and race with race work together as friends? God knows that there must be struggle, if even one man isn't free, where only the rich can find justice, and poor men live in misery. But murder by night isn't justice, and burning sets no poor man free. Justice can never be built on brutality. Violence corrupts and destroys Guyana. Our land in agony, how can our hatred end, and race with race work together as friends? First we must learn to see brothers, each by himself face to face, not to call men by their color, not to judge men by their race, not beating and burning the good men for evil that other men do. Then can we start to be building our destiny, building our justice with love in our Guyana. Our own land strong and free, when fears and hatreds end, and race with race work together as friends.
Greetings to you. I had to play that song 2 times so as to register the theme for my broadcast today. And that was performed by a Guyanese, Nesbitt Shangar. Nesbitt Shangar is the singer, and the song is Tain Public Road. Tain Public Road. That is the song. And that song that you've just heard twice was banned from being played on the radio. It was banned. It could not have been played on the national radio stations, either on television. It was banned. If you heard the lyrics of that song, all the song did or does is to highlight the evil that had been committed at the time and called for unity. That's what the song did. The song highlighted the evils, the atrocities that were inflicted on Guyanese, mostly Indo-Guyanese and a few blacks. And the writer, the singer, the composer, Nesbitt Shangar, all he called for in his song is unity. Why do we need to live like that? That's all he did. And that song was banned from being played on radio and television by the PNC. They banned that song. The PNC banned that song from being played on the airwaves. Think about that for a moment. I wanted to get my main song. Think about that for a moment. Welcome to the broadcast today. I'm Dr. Love Persaud, your precious gift. And these programs, these broadcasts, I've tailored them for a specific purpose. A specific purpose. My concern has always been and will always be the security of the Guyanese people. That's my concern. I will not allow myself to be immersed into the performance of the economy. That's everywhere. It's everywhere. You enter Guyana and you see. It's visible. You see how the economy is performing. I am not going to immerse myself into the ocean of social beauty that's happening under the PPP. Because every Guyanese knows about the generous side of President Ali and the PPP. Every Guyanese know that. So I do not have to expound on the social aspect, the social programs, and how the government is taking care of its citizens. I don't have to do that. The government is capable of doing that, and you have seen it everywhere. You live in Guyana, you taste of the sweetness of the government's generosity to its citizens. I don't have to go down that road. I don't have to talk about infrastructure development. I don't have to immerse myself into the whole reality of how Guyana is developing in the physical aspect of the country. I don't have to do that. If you fly over Guyana low enough and you look through the window of the plane, you can see for yourself what's happening on the ground. Even while you are in the air, something is pulling you to go down just to experience the modernization of Guyana under President Ali and the PPP. So I do not have to, interject myself into those narratives. You're seeing for yourself. These are things that you can see. These are things you can experience. All you need to do is just to go to Guyana. Go to Guyana and you see that. But what you're not seeing and what you have to experience by persons' testimony, by people sharing their experiences with you is the trauma, that the Guyanese, the good Guyanese citizens continues to experience on a daily basis. That you can't see. They have to tell you. And you don't want to experience that to know it exists. Usually you get to know that exists after somebody films it and uploads it on YouTube or social media platform. Then you can witness the evil that is a continued practice amongst a certain category of people. Then you can see that. But I want to take you back to the pre-genesis of this kind of normalization. Pre-genesis. I'll take you back to that time. And that is post-independence. Just a few years after the independence that we celebrated yesterday. There are people who are still alive of whom therapy couldn't help. Therapy couldn't help those people. They're still stuck on alcohol. They're still stuck on mental decline. They're still stuck on emotional instability and sickness because they cannot overcome. All these years after, they cannot overcome what they themselves have experienced post-independence by the order, by the architectural design of the man who made it all possible. That is Forbes Burnam. He is dead and gone. But the pain that he inflicted on the people, the good citizens of Guyana, those people still alive, most, continues to relive that horrific experience. Continues. I want to digress here to the Israeli massacre with Hitler. What Hitler did with 8 million Jews, the Jews, the children of those people who were murdered, it is now a part of a constitution, a social structure, that experience is never forgotten. Never forgotten. What Hitler, the Nazis, did to the Jews. Never forgotten. They make sure you don't forget it. And why? Why should you forget it? Lest you repeat the history. When you forget something, it tends to repeat itself. So the fact that you have to keep reminding the future generations is to let them understand there will be consequences to the repetition of any of that. So the Jews now are proactive. They hit you before you hit them because they never forget what happened to their ancestors. Look around the world. Last week they had what? In many countries, Russia, China, in many countries, they had the celebration of World War II, the end of World War II. They had remembrance. Yesterday in America, Remembrance Day for the fallen soldiers in the war. Never forget what has happened horrific, horrendous, evil. They continue to remind not only their generations but the world as to what their ancestors went through. Why then? Why then should Guyana forget the massacres that occurred under the Burnam regime? Why should Guyana forget? Why should you sweep it under the rug and say, well, that was one time, we're not responsible for that, forgiveness? Okay. If that's the case, and you want the children of the Indians who were murdered, who were destabilized, whose lands were taken, who lost their entire existence, if you want them, their children now, to forget and forgive what their fathers and mothers and grandfathers and grandmothers experienced under Burnam, then why is it you asking Africans, you asking for reparations? Why is it you celebrate all of these memorial days that comes under the African calendar? Why? Why don't you forgive and forget? You don't want to forgive and forget those who did your ancestors wrong, but you want the people that your ancestors did wrong to forgive and forget. I say no. Because nowhere in the world do they forgive and forget. They remind you that if it happens again, there'll be serious consequences. So every time this moment comes around, you are reminded. So I'm saying the Guyanese population now needs to be educated on a consistent basis, a continuous, consistent basis, the evils of the past. The evils of the past. Because indirectly, it's happening still. It's still happening. Haven't you seen? So I want to share some brief items, not to entertain you, but to add some spice to what I'm saying. And I'll move on the subjects. I'm starting with this. Here is a story, a brief account from someone, and you have no idea the messages, the emails that are flooding my inbox since I talked about the Linden crisis, the Mackenzie issue. You have no idea. There are many, many stories. I can't read all of it. And most of the people are still alive. They said they were there. They witnessed, they saw. And they still live with that pain. One person is 90 years old and still live with that pain because his parents, he witnessed his parents being hacked to death by a black mob. Hacked to death. Somehow he survived. Today, it's still fresh in his memory. I'm going to read something shortly for you here. Bear with me. Bear with me. It says, I'm surprised. Okay, let's move on from there. Okay. I was 13 and 14 then. We were living in Victoria. My father had a grocery. He was by nature one of the kindest men that ever lived. I used to be in the shop when I was home from school, and Daddy helped dozens of poor blacks when they came without money for basic groceries to prevent them from starving. Yes, things were really hard for them. They were always loud with their praises of my father. And you know what? When the thugs and the murderers heartlessly pounced upon us Indians in the village, of the east coast of Demerara, we ran and hid for safety in the night in our cow pens. Cow pens. We hid in the dark storerooms, and so we ended up in the Indian sugar estate communities. We were often humiliated and called refugees, but we had to start over. We missed school, and for those 2 years, it was a great setback. Now, this is a brief account of somebody who's still alive, who can precisely paint this picture. Precisely. It meant that it's imprinted in the person's memory till now. The person was 13, around 14 years. You have any idea? For a teenager to witness that and live the rest of their lives sober, not going crazy, not joining a gang, not seeking revenge. That's one account. That's one account. How can you forget that? How can you tell someone to forget that? You have people in relationships. The man may have cheated on the woman by accident. Yes, there are some cheating that happens by accident. He didn't mean to do it. That's the accident. After he got caught, he didn't mean to do it. So it's an accident. And you have those situations in relationships where the man accidentally cheated on the woman and she never forgets it. She makes sure that she reminds him on a continuous basis about what he did and how she felt. She doesn't forget. That's for cheating. The law, when you commit a crime, the law puts you in record on the books. Unless you are pardoned by the president, that record is there. 100 years from now, it's there. Never expunged. The law doesn't forget. Neither forgive. And you are saying you want an entire generation of Indians to forget and forgive the atrocities that their fathers, grandfathers, and relatives experienced? You're an idiot to ask them to do that. You're an idiot. The simple things of life people don't want to forgive and forget, and you want people to forgive and forget that. Why? Why bring the God message in the picture? If you are saying, let God deal with whoever, oh, the people who committed that crime, they've died, they died. No, some of them are still alive. Some of those murderers, those Afro-Guyanese thugs who murdered those people, sadly, some are still alive. But you never know that's what they did. You never know. Some are in the churches. Some hold certain position. You never know that they were also involved in that. But they're suffering every day. They will never confess and seek redemption. But a lot of them are still alive today. Some are in politics. And the fact that they still have that desire, that urge to do those things, they can incite other people to do it. They get a kick out of it. And you want the people who suffered, the relatives of those people, to forgive and forget, lest the past repeats itself. Let's fast forward a bit. Shall we? I want us to fast forward a bit. I'm looking for it here. (2020). Did you remember? 2020. I'm reading a piece of an article published in the Stabroek News, Guyana. Look it up. You can read it for yourself. I'll just give you a piece of it, but you can read the rest for yourself. Stabroek News. Now, if this was not a credible account, the newspaper would not be publishing this. They would not print such a story if it didn't check out. The fact that they published this, printed it, and it's still on the internet, it meant they checked it out, they did their research, and they realized that this is a true account. This is real story. It's backed up. Now, this is 2020. This is not a story that happened before and only came out 20. No, this happened 2020. It says, horror at Hope Tongue and the good people who rescued us. That's the heading. I read the article. I don't know what's so good about those people, but anyway, this is the author's account, and the author here, the writer who sent this letter, is a teenager who experienced this. So let's go through as much as I can. Bear with me. It's imperative that these accounts is never forgotten. It is imperative. Dear editor, what began just as a trip to the airport ended in the most horrible lifetime experience for me. A 16-year-old girl and my family. This is a 16-year-old teenager and her family. My grandmother and I left our home on the Quarantine Coast at around 6 a.m. Tuesday, the 8th of September, 2020. Imagine, this is during COVID, where you should have a lockdown, where there were restrictions about crowd gathering and touching each other and 6 feet apart. All of that didn't prevent all those rules that the government then would have been, they were deciding with the elections, but the PNC still had some amount of control. All those regulations didn't prevent what this teenager experienced and so many other Indians. On the 8th of September 2020, we were heading for Chedi Jagan International Airport in Georgetown for an emergency flight out of Guyana. My mother, who resides in the United States, made the arrangements. We were accompanied by a family friend. The driver of the car was also a family friend. Another friend of the family was also getting on the flight. So we made arrangements to go together in 2 separate vehicles. We were aware of the rioting that was going on the east coast and west coast of Berbice. However, we were informed by our families in Georgetown that the riots were under control and we would be able to pass. Taking this as good news, the family felt it was safe to go. I want to skip down to this part. Okay? I want to skip down to this part. Yeah. This part I'm saying here, it says, going down the street, we noticed that we were cut off from the rest of the vehicles that had sped through the street. Seeing that the end was blocked by rioters who ran down the street, the driver, with great panic, started reversing to go out the same way we came through. Suddenly, our car and the pickup truck were attacked by a large number of rioters. They attacked the vehicle in front of us, leaving the driver to flee for his life. We were still frantically trying to get out of the street, but we were surrounded. We couldn't go anywhere and couldn't do anything. We were a car of Indo-Guyanese. I repeat, this writer is recounting the experience that she experienced. We were a car of Indo-Guyanese. Everyone in the car were Indo-Guyanese. The rioters, she used a good word, rioters. But the thugs, these vagabonds, showed little mercy. Showed them little mercy. Everyone's faces were covered completely, and all you could have seen were their eyes full of rage and whatever emotions there were. Someone offered us little passage for a change. Imagine that. Imagine that. By the time the man returned, we were already neck deep in trouble. Our car was surrounded by so many thugs. She said rioters, but I'm saying thugs. That we couldn't even think. The driver's side window was stuck halfway down, and the men started banging on the car. One of the rioters had a piece of wood that they used to hit the windshield and cracked it. Another rioter hit the windshield with his bare fist and damaged it. Our car was banged up, but that was the least of our problems. As the windows was down, one of the rioters tried to get the keys of the car. The rioters were able to unlock the safety locks and get into the car. I clearly remember the first thing they did as they entered the car. One of the men ripped my cross from my neck. This teenager, this 16-year-old, was wearing a protection Christian necklace with a cross. You know those kinds of chains with a cross? And one of the thugs, when they got into the car, ripped it from her neck. Imagine that. Which I wore for safety all my life. All her life she wore that chain for safety. Now the chain could not protect her. They then opened all the doors and pulled us out. I remember seeing them pull my grandmother away. She didn't resist. She just gave them everything she had, including whatever jewelry she wore. I'll pause there. This is in 2020. The one I read before, that's in the 1960s, around 64, 65. That I read just now, just a part. You can read the rest. Go to Starbuck News and you can get it there. That's 2020. The first one was a 13-year-old who recounted what I think was a she experienced. This one here is a 16-year-old. Now, of course, she'll be around maybe 21. With her grandmother and car full of Indians, getting away from their beautiful country, having to go all the way from Berbice to Timeri at the Chedijagan airport to leave the country because of the riots, the robbery, and the looting, and the shooting, and the murders that was happening as a result of an election that the PNC wanted to steal. Send their thugs out to do what they always do: instill fear, hoping that it may change the trajectory of what life had intended. Terrorizing the innocent Indians to get to their leaders. They cannot terrorize the leaders, so they terrorize the supposed supporters of the PPP. That's 2020. How many other people during 2020 around COVID? Why I had to expound on that issue with COVID is because there were laws that were passed, emergency laws, COVID laws that were passed to prevent crowd gatherings, assembling 6 feet apart, hence you transmit the disease. But none of that stopped these thugs, these criminals, from coming out in their drones, terrorizing the people on the East Coast and throughout Guyana. That didn't stop. The law didn't stop them. It's like a second nature for those people to do this violent act. And they pick on the citizens they consider weak. Women and girls of Indian descent, defenseless, vulnerable, they pick on those. That's 2020. Do you see anything around social media? Do you hear anything that is a continued talking point about the riots in 2020? Or before that? Do you see anything? It's swept under the rug. Nobody wants to talk about it. Why? Is it sex? Is it talking about sex? Is it talking about hell? Yeah, they talk about hell all the time to get people to go to church. But you don't want to talk about the hell that the Indians suffered in 2020? In the Burnam time, and continued throughout the independence of Guyana? Recently, this year, last month, Tushin, and it spread to a lot of the neighborhoods that are predominantly black people. Who were the targets? Indians. This year. Are you talking about forgetting? You forget. This is why you're not vigilant. This is why you're caught off guard all the time, because you forget what keeps recurring. And you want it to stop? This is a weapon they always use, and somehow they benefit from that. I don't know if it's a ritual where they have to terrorize people and see how much blood that can be shed. I don't know if the Demon King requires that around a certain time there need to be terrorism in the country because he needs blood. I don't know. But the fact that this keeps happening, it's ridiculous. The fact that it keeps happening, and whenever you have a system in place that addresses harshly these kinds of criminal acts, all of these NGOs jump in. Extrajudicial killing. The police are targeting the blacks. They're killing the black youths. Black people are marginalized. This is racism. Every time there's a system to deal with this and address this, the blacks are crying foul. But when it is happening, they don't condemn. They do not boycott their own people or condemn for these atrocities. They don't do it because they think it is towards the government or the PPP party. They think that the PPP deserve whatever is happening to their followers. So you don't have prominent blacks who come out and condemn it. But from the time the state decides to deal with these thugs and criminals, everybody comes out. Everybody. Racism. It's lynching. It's this, it's that. But where is the justice? Where is the justice for that young lady and her grandmother and all the other Indians that were terrorized and beaten and robbed? And this is what this is you're holding a political protest. You're protesting the government. Okay? You're talking about the freedom to assembly, the freedom to protest. You're talking about dictatorship and all these kinds of political correctness. You're highlighting and you're establishing and justifying your reason for protesting. Okay, fine. Good. Justify. In this specific case with this young lady, they snatched her chain. They robbed her mobile phone. They robbed the grandmother her purse with money. They robbed the other people with money and jewelry. How does that got to do with a political right that has to do with something that you may disagree with from the other side? How does robbery and stealing and killing, how does that come into play? How? Is that a part of the process? What does that got to do with anything? What does blocking a road prevent the traffic from going, breaking vehicles, burning vehicles, physically abusing people? What does that got to do with being dissatisfied with something from the government or some political party? Did that person or is it that those persons walk around with a party membership card and say, hey, I'm a friend of Jagdeo and I support Jagdeo's position to do this or do that, therefore you can attack me? Do they walk around like that? Or are they just a target, an automatic target by default because they're Indian? Because those Indians, a lot of those Indian people that those black thugs are abusing, are targeting, a lot of those Indians, they have black wives and husbands and children. They are in relationship with Afro-Guyanese. But none of that matters. Because when those evil thugs see an Indian, they don't question them. To say, hey, are you a PNC? Do you have a black husband? Do you have a black wife? Are you this? No. When they see an Indian, they see somebody that they hate. So they just want to do evil, bad things to that person. They don't care about the details of their private life. They just know that I hate you, I see you as an Indian, and I hate you. That's what's going through their mind. And if I can injure you and hurt you, I'm hurting Jagdi, I'm hurting Ali, I'm hurting the PPP. That's what's going through their mind. And this is not something that is just spontaneous. This is not a mistake, no accidents. This has happened so many times. It continues to happen. What are we going to talk about every day? What? The prices in the shop? The prices in the shop you want to talk about? You want to talk about the currency exchange? You want to talk about some potholes somewhere? You want to talk about some alleged corruption where some minister may have made some deal under the table? Is that what you want to talk about? That's what I need to waste my time to talk about. How many times those talking points weren't featured during the Granger government? How many times? It weren't featured by the very people, the Afro-Guyanese, the Negroes that are criticizing the government. They feature so many corruptive topics on the Granger government. Every day. I gotta join that? No. No matter how good a politician is, there will always be some dirt on him that somebody can dig up. If it's fabricated, but you have to find some way to keep your audience or keep your whatever it is, so you invent something spicy to talk about a politician, a president, a vice president, because that's what your audience wants to hear. I am not interested in that. I'm here for a different reason. My level is too high. I don't have time for that. I am here for a different reason. Because like I said before, these subjects that I'm covering deals with security. I'm concerned about the security of the Guyanese public. If people can feel secure in their homes, they'll be happy to socialize. And most of the times you hear people saying, not people, you hear black Afro-Guyanese saying, the Indians keep to themselves, they don't socialize, you can't take an Indian, you can't take an African boy to your house, they're racial. No, let me set the record clear. Before the 60s, before the Burnam massacre, the Indians and the Africans were like this. They were. Before all of that, they united. They didn't see color. They know that to the white man, they were all black. Indians and Africans knew that before the devil sent his son to change that. So after the devil sent his son, who betrayed the Son of God, Chetty, the devil's son Burnam changed all of that. How did he change it? Broke the trust, broke the heart of the Indians who thought. They thought. Do you think they would have? Do you think if the Indian knew what the blacks were capable of, you think they would go to Wisma or Mackenzie there in such small numbers among such large community of blacks? If they knew what the blacks were capable of, do you think they would risk their security and their lives to go to Mackenzie, to live amongst the blacks with the possibilities that these blacks would murder them? No, they wouldn't, because that was never in their vocabulary. They didn't see that as even possible. Otherwise, Indians will never go live in black neighborhoods throughout the country. If they knew then those things were possible, they would never do it. But they knew that it was not, because they never have it in their head. They didn't envision such a thing. Because Chetty did not implant that in them, that, hey, don't trust these blacks. These blacks can be murderous and evil. And no, he didn't. But it's the demon king who knew what his people were capable of. And all they needed was a push start. provocation, that bell to ring, then wake them up from the hypnosis of being good citizens into the real state of being evil. And they unleash the evil on those Indians. As a result of that, generations that followed were taught you're safer with your own kind. Because of the experience that the Indians experienced on the Burnam and the massacres, they had to band together, cut all the social ties because they realized they couldn't trust the blacks anymore after what the blacks did to them. Every black was a suspect after that. You want to blame them for that? I would do the same. I do the same. Once bitten, twice shy. Fool me once, I was ignorant. Fool me twice, I can't claim ignorance. Fool me 3 times. After that, beat the shit out of me because I'm dumber than being ignorant. They were fooled once, they got smart. Don't blame them for that. And instead of the generation of blacks that followed the Burnam regime, did what they had to do to correct that past, they continue along that path of the riots, the lootings, the robberies, the murders, the gangs, the ghetto life. They continue to this day. What do you want the Indians to do? Trust you? And they're seeing that shit every day? They wouldn't. I wouldn't advise them to do it either. For what? They're seeing what you're doing. I wouldn't advise them to do that. And you have grown men like David Hines. How old is he? Like 70 or 80? Grown men who lived in that time, knew the suffering of the Indians, witnessed the atrocities, and all he can do is to poke more fire, encouraging the blacks, the ignorant blacks now, to get involved in acts that are antisocial and immoral. There's a great-grandfather who still is trying to incite that lifestyle. And you want the Indians to see that and hear that and still trust these people? Look at all the platforms that are run by these PNC people and these others. Look at what they are inciting. Look at what they are inciting. Yesterday, you had this man they called Doggy. Was it Doggy? I mean, do all the criminal black people got to be ugly? Can't you have some decent looking thugs? Do they all have to have these hideous faces? Oh, PNC people, okay. Yeah. This Doggy guy promoting a fight between 2 bitches from the ghetto, 2 lowlifes, scums. Attracted people to actually physically present themselves to witness a public brawl between 2 bitches from the ghetto. 2 low-life scums, female roaches, rodents. He spent hours on social media promoting that thing, pushing bets. Hours on social media. People showed up to witness 2 black women injure themselves. They showed up. And these are the blacks that have a problem with me. And they are supporting this doggy guy, this evil-looking Muhammad-sponsored guy, who continue to release the demon and the toxicity on the vulnerable blacks that follow these people for entertainment, and get them to come out. Imagine that. You can't influence them to go stand in a line for a job, but you can influence them to come out to witness violence in public, broadcast it on social media, and you want the Indians to trust these Negroes, seeing what they do to themselves. What other evidence, Minister of Home Affairs, Robertson Ben, what other evidence do you need to lock this guy up? Isn't that incitement? Isn't that terrorism? Is he behind bars? I don't know. Was he arrested? Was this doggy guy arrested? Is he in jail? How is he still having an American visa? The American consulate or American embassy in Guyana, how is it that this man, who lauded himself as an American citizen, how is it his citizenship, if he has one, is not revoked and his visa not cancelled? How? When he is promoting on your turf, turf as in under your flag, violence in another country, thinking that he's immune because he's an American resident, have a green card. You have revoked people's visa for less. You have canceled their citizenship for less, America. How is it that this Negro is getting away with this? How? It's all over social media. How would he be allowed to go back into the United States? You turned down somebody the other day because of our ties with this sanctioned family. What, you cannot prove that this other man has ties with the Mohammeds? How is he not, this doggy guy is not arrested? You saw on social media that he promoted it, sponsored it, organized it, and was physically there the day of the incident. He was there in person, telling the bikes where to ride and telling who to block road. He was there. He was there. You lock up the others people who burn tires and burn stuff on the road. You lock them up, right? Terrorism. Why isn't he locked up? Is he locked up? If he is, good. But if he's not, why not? What more evidence you need, Home Affairs Minister? These people are asking for the consequences that follows their stupid actions. And when the police showed up and start shooting rubber bullets or whatever it is brutality. The same way the man that got shot yesterday, the police in the process of executing, they're dispersing the crowd and bringing some kind of calm. Somebody got shot. What, you going to protest now? Justice for the guy? All of that should be on this doggy's guy head. His head it should be on. He is responsible. All the other people who are there, they're losers, they're ignorant, they're stupid, they're dumb. So while you may get a few of them and lock them up too, the man who organized all of that, he should be behind bars. This doggy, whatever. These names they give themselves. I mean, from that you can tell the mentality. Call yourself doggy. Every day, you see these things on the social media. And President Irfan Ali, the world is seeing it too. Does it have to be politically correct for you to deal with these issues? How more nicer can you handle it? You need to take a pastor with a police officer and a psychiatrist to deal with these criminals so that you will not be judged as a racist president? Look at the stuff with the doggy guy. They took over the whole square. The square is a place where people just chill. They walk by, they admire the statue of Coffee. They read some history there. And they took it, converted it into a ghetto den where two low-life scums are fighting it out. Fighting it out, injuring each other. And even though the police came, they're still fighting. Black people. Black people. You want respect, right? You want respect, right? That shit gets respect to you? Who do you think would respect you? You want fame? How is that improving your life or your bank account? How is that getting you a better job? How is that helping your relationships with people? Tell me, how does it work? How are you getting a good name from those kinds of performances? I thought it's a small group of blacks that are that stupid. But it seems like it's a large group because this is Georgetown. The one in Tushin is on it's a whole nother location. It seems like the whole Guyana, you have neighborhoods where these people are just stupid. Entertainment? You call yourself different? And people call you out for that. You want violence, you want to fight, you want to kill, you want to... And this is the respect you expect. Guyana is not Trinidad. Guyana is not Haiti. Guyana is not the ghettos in America where these Lickford Smirks and these other people live. Guyana is not that. Guyana has 6 races, many others. Guyana doesn't belong to the Negroes. It never did. Guyana never belonged to the black man. It will never belong to the black man. So you are promoting this and behaving this way as if you have a right to be destructive. You have a right to be violent. You have a right to attack people. And nobody should tell you anything. You have a right to demand and take what is not yours. You Afro-Guyanese, you think that's your right? God gave, Burnam did, but God didn't. He may have instilled that in your fathers, and they instill it in you that you have this eternal right to terrorize people and steal and take from them. But you were wrongly taught. You don't have the right to do any of that. You have a right to respect the other citizens there, to respect the laws of Guyana, to live in harmony and at peace with nature and people. You have a right to a job. You have a right to an education. You have a right to the opportunities that everyone else in Guyana has a right to. Those are your rights. What you don't have a right to is to commit crime. To kill, to steal, to murder. You don't have a right to that. And if you do that, you must be locked up. The keys should be thrown away or smelted. If you murder someone, you should be killed by the state. You commit robbery under arms or any kind of robbery, You should be sentenced without representation, without bail. That's what you don't have a right to do. Execute crime on other people. You don't have a right for that. So the fact that you are doing these things, whenever there's an election period, it has to accompany riots, is because the spirit, no, that's a good word, the demon of Burnam still lives through these Negroes today. So they can quickly be organized, mobilized, and say, hey, go out and commit crime. Go out and fight with the Indians. Go out and kill the Indians. Go out and this, go out and that. And they only always target Indians. Now they're targeting the Chinese. You don't have a right to do that. My concern is the safety and security of all Guyanese. There are a lot of blacks who suffer because those blacks stand up against those thugs. Stand up for right and truth and justice, and those thugs turn their evil against those good black citizens in Guyana. So I can understand now how a lot of blacks are afraid to speak out, because they don't have that heart to do evil. They don't have that heart to take a weapon and destroy somebody, to take a gun. They don't have the heart because they were raised in different neighborhoods. They were raised with love and harmony. They were raised possibly in the church. So even though they see it, they know that it pains, but they just don't have that capacity to return the evil. But the majority seem to have that capacity. Look at how they gather. Look at how they gather at Coffee Square yesterday to witness, to cheer on. For heaven's sake, you don't know how much there's something inside of me. You have no idea. If you have no idea, you have no idea how much this shit affects me. No idea. You people don't want me anywhere close to government. Nowhere close to government. You don't want me. I am one Negro. One Negro that you don't want close to government. But this shit gotta stop. This shit has to stop. If you don't have the human resources, President Ali, get drones. Find some means to keep a permanent calm in that country. Because from this story of Starbuck News, what a young lady recounted, even the police could not. They overwhelmed the police. The military had to come in and brought some kind of calm. The military, then why stop there? If it takes the military to put these niggas in their place, why stop there? Leave the military permanently on the streets. Don't let them stay in the barracks and get fat, or wait for some invasion that will never happen. Let them protect the citizens of Guyana. And when the military arrests these criminals, don't let them be tried in civilian courts. If the military arrests them, let them go through military courts. The military has large prisons. Let them go there and deal with the soldiers that break the law, and they're in there. Don't put the pressure on the police. The police are there to enforce the law, not to deal with terrorists. The soldiers are trained to deal with terrorists. You need to have the police and soldiers work together. That young lady's life somehow miraculously was spared to tell the tale. A whole mob and nobody, they're all in unison. They were all working together for that one objective. And that's how black people unite. Black people unite when it comes to crime. When it comes to protesting and standing against a race or being racial, they unite. They have unity for that. But to have unity to support their infrastructure, support their neighborhood, support something good, a black business, black entrepreneur, they don't have unity when it comes to supporting their people to elevate themselves. They boycott you. They send people to break you, to steal from you. They have no unity for good things. But for terrible things, for bad things, they have unity. Look at Tushin. Look all around the country. Whenever it's chaos and standing up for crime and criminals, they have unity for that. But never for something good. Never for something good. We can't change the narrative, people. We cannot change the narrative. It is what it is. And at the end of the day, it has to stop now. It has to stop now. Let the soldiers and the police round them up, ship them off to prison. When the next group comes out, round them up, ship them off to prison. And in time, you would have drained even the ghettos from the ghetto rats. You would have drained the ghetto. So the peaceful people in the ghetto can breathe. They can allow their children to come out and socialize because all the bad elements are gone. They're out. There is no more toxicity there. There's nobody else there to infiltrate the innocent minds of the young children. All the prostitutes are gone. All the thugs and criminals are gone. This is how you deal with it, President Ali. All these blacks in your government, the black prime minister, the black minister of Home Affairs, you have the bishop, One Edgel, all these black people in your cabinet. What, they don't have balls now? You have a black man who's a minister of Home Affairs, and he can't deal with these black people? If you put an Indian there, what? He will have the same stigma like Gadraj? What about Ramjatan? He was there at the PNC. Did he fix anything? Or he too was afraid of the blacks? Or Granger? Oh yes, Norton was there. Norton was there, I get it. Robbery, Lurton was there, so yeah, okay. That's clear. You have to fix it. This is an election year. You don't want the Indians to turn their backs on you, sir. You don't want to lose the Indian votes. Take care of the citizens and their security. This is an election year. Look back at the history of Guyana post-independence. Every time there's a time where elections come around, riots somehow seem to be the time of the day. And where is it coming out from? PNC side. So if this takes over, the Indians are going to flee for their safety by the thousands. Who is going to be there to vote for you? The blacks wouldn't vote for you. They're already there with the PNC. Those thugs are not going to vote for you. And the good blacks who are PPP, those niggas are going to get rid of them too. So who is going to be there to vote for the PPP? Who? If you don't protect your citizens, your base, and the good supporters of the PPP, if you don't protect them, because you're protecting all Guyana, but they're not protected. So maybe they're not included in the one Guyana equation, because they're not protected. When they're gone, you lose votes. You need the Indians and the good citizens of Guyana to come back, to remigrate, to come back to the country, to come back to Guyana, to build their lives in Guyana. That's what you need. And if they come back, if 100,000 Guyanese come back to Guyana, that's 100,000 votes for you. But if 100,000 leaves, that's 100,000 votes you lost. Bring them back. Just create a better environment for the people. We love the infrastructure. Like I said, I'm not going to waste time talking about the good things you're doing because the world can see that. We all see what you're doing. We can see. But we want to feel safe. We want to feel safe. Because for me, every time I hear, even the vice president, every time I hear something coming out of the platform, political platform. The other day, I listened to you, President Ali, on the Essequibo tour there when you talked about, you were meeting the people there. I listened to your whole speech. Nothing on security. You talked about the Venezuelan border. But nothing on domestic security. It's as though things are calm. It's not, because they're posting it. It's not. The people are posting it. You're not talking about it, but the opposition, they're posting it. They're sharing with the world how it is unsafe within Guyana's borders. They're not talking about Venezuela. They're talking about the crimes that are being committed in Guyana. But you're not talking about it. You're spending time on overseas stuff. Make Guyana safe again. Yes, there was a time when it was safe. Make Guyana safe again. If you don't have the know-how, get help. Hire a private firm. Hire security to work with your police force. Hire intelligence. Hire the drones. But keep the people safe. That's how your economy grows. That's how your business grows, when they're safe. That's it. All these things I'm seeing. And it is difficult for me to spend time on dealing with these issues. But you can't help it. You put your phone on, you go on the social media, and there it is. Some neighborhood, Agricola again. Buxton, Agricola, the East Coast there. Troubled neighborhoods. Agricola, it's just like Lyndon, it's this curse. Maybe too much obeah is practiced in these black neighborhoods. Maybe too much obeah. The black people that need to stop that. It's not working. The obeah that you're practicing, it's not working because you're still poor. Your children are still violent. They're still in prison. They're still thieves and murderers. So the obeah isn't working. If you're doing obeah to help your family, to make your children better, then that might be plausible. But if you're doing obeah to take somebody's wife, to block somebody's progress, to kill somebody, to take somebody's husband, if you're doing obeah for that, you're putting curses on yourself and your neighborhood. If you're making blood sacrifices with animals and all kinds of stuff and burying that around your neighborhood, you are messing with your own progress. So these villages, these neighborhoods that are predominantly black, there's such a dark cast over these neighborhoods. Every day it's something evil. Agricola, fighting in the street with cutlasses and wood and it's posted on social media. Posted. Which businessman wants to take his business in Agricola? Who wants to go buy a land and property in Agricola? This is why those neighborhoods will never rise. They will stay buried. Generations after generation, they will stay cursed, buried. Then you blame the government and say the government is not putting infrastructure, is not helping the youths, is not boosting the economy in these neighborhoods. Why should the government invest in these neighborhoods when people will not even go there for the services? They won't even go there. The opposition parties need these people. The PNC and the others need these kinds of people. They have them, they need them to do their bidding whenever the time comes. They need them. So they will never try to help these people. They want to keep them how they are. It's good for business for the opposition. These people like Doggy and these others, they need their following. Scampuswell, they need their following. Lynchcop and these others, they need those people to stay dumb and stupid so they can keep clicking on their videos and clicking on their lives to hear what propaganda they have against a government that they hate. They need them. But you, President Ali, you have to save the better side of Guyana by pointing out the ills of those people. By pointing out the ills of those people. You can't save everyone. You can't save everyone. Jesus died on the cross for everyone, yeah. But for people to be saved, they have to individually want salvation. It's not forced on them. And you are not Jesus, sir. So President Ali, save the Guyanese who are asking for salvation, who are begging to be saved. The ones who don't want to be saved, then let them go to fucking hell. But save the ones who are begging you to be saved. Security, security, security. So before I close off this live today, did I forget anything? No, I didn't. Yeah. Before I close off the live, the business community, you have to send a strong message. Send a strong message to every neighborhood. Remove your business from neighborhoods that are toxic, criminally oriented. Take your businesses out of those neighborhoods. Make it clear. And let them understand why you're doing it. It will put pressure on the others to give up the criminals. And any element that is pesting and preventing the growth of those neighborhoods is going to pressure them to do it. But don't keep your businesses in these predominantly ghetto, black ghetto neighborhoods and suffer. Close shop. Move your businesses out. Whatever the business is, move it out. And they want a job, they follow where you are, and they obey the rules. But the stuff I see every day coming out of these ghettos, it has to stop. Talking wouldn't help, because you have all these other voices on the other sides that are cheering it on, cheering it on. So I need your help, business community, to circulate the memo and tell the businesses, look for options in other neighborhoods. Look for options. But remove your businesses out of these ghetto neighborhoods that are terrorizing the good citizens of Guyana. Take your businesses out. So to the good people, thank for your support. Thanks for all the kind messages. Keep sending your emails, keep sending your messages. I would keep featuring your topics, but don't forget. And for those kind-hearted people, thanks for your support. And those who would like to support, send me a message that you would like to support And I will tell you how you can do that. Any amount is welcome. Fire the Home Affairs Minister, Robertson Ben. Good night.